graphic.
It's printed but small.
I know.
I, however, have a full size.
All right. Do I?
There you go. Boker Tov, Shabbat Shalom. Up or down? Currently, sound? Thank you, Shari. Awesome. Okay, and Sai, I'm using my laptop for the sound now, but check does the system look like it's working through the mics? You can hear me, so I'm going to mute here. Okay, again, through these regular microphones. Shari, do we have sound? Yay! Okay, keep us posted. Thank you, Sai and Beck. And I believe we were about to start on page 151 and
We'll do
follow.
141 also.
Matovu one more time.
Steve, you get the bonus of hearing it twice.
Different melody now? Yeah.
We could. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael, v'ani berov chastecha havo v'heitecha, eshtachavel ha'heichal kodeshecha b'yiratecha. Adonai ahavti me'on beitecha u'mekom mishkan kevodecha v'ani eshachaveh ve'echra'a evrecha lifnei Adonai ohosi v'ani tefilati lecha Adonai et ratzon Elohim berov chastecha haneni be'emet yishecha. And now that we have entered our sanctuary, we turn to page 143 for the blessing for the talit. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu v'yitatef b'tzitzit.
Amen. Thank you.
Having entered the sanctuary and prepared ourselves with the talit, I want to turn to page 150. In the English, I would recommend everybody read this. in the first person. For the sake of the union of the Blessed Holy One with the Shekhinah, I stand here ready in body and mind to take upon myself the mitzvah. You shall love your fellow human being as yourself. And by this merit, may I open my mouth. The Birchot HaShachar, we all should say at least 100 blessings every day. This gets us off to a great start. Page 153, rise if you're able. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim ma'avir shina me'ena uzma me'apapai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim anoten l'sechi vina l'chavim ben yom u'ben layla. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim raka ha'aretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim abisharumim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim zokef kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim amechim mitzad degaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim shesali kol tzarki. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim ozer Yisrael pikvuda. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim oter Yisrael b'tifara. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim shesani b'tzamo. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim shesani ben chorim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim shesani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei olamim v'noten le'yaif koach. We turn to page 153, I believe, for Birchot. No, excuse me, 160. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll just continue. I apologize. Yeah, you know, I should have printed it bigger. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher yatzar et ha'adam b'chokhmah v'ravo nekavim nekavim chalulim chalulim. Kalui ve'adu lifnei chisei kevodecha she'im yipatech echad mehem o yisatem echad mehem אי אפשר להתקיים ולעמוד לפניך. ברוך אתה אדוני רופא כל בשר מפליא לעשות. Page 165. Elohai, Elohai, neshama, shenatata bi tehorahi. Ata verata, ata yetzarta, ata nefachta bi, ve'ata meshamra, meshamra b'kirbi. Elohai, Elohai, neshama, shenatata bi tehorahi. Now turn to the Kaddish de Rabbanan, which you can find on page 173 in the sanctuary. At this point, we have 8, but we have more than that in Zoom.
Oh, we are so multiple minions.
So the Kaddish de Rabbanan, the Kaddish is actually said to split up the service in various places. The de Rabbanan is for the rabbis. Actually, the custom of saying Kaddish came from the fact that when a group was studying and finished, they would say the Kaddish prayer. They did this at the home of one of their revered rabbis, and then it became therefore part of our service. So if you are in mourning or commemorating a yortzeit, either in the sanctuary, on Zoom, please join me in the Kaddish Rabbanan, page 173. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, b'yama divrah chirutei v'yamelich malchutei, V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, v'gala v'zman kariv v'miru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mabarach l'olam olamei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechamata, damiran b'alma v'miru, amen. Al Yisrael v'al Rabbanan v'al Talmidehun v'al kol Talmidei Talmidehun v'al kol monde oskim b'araita di v'rata hadein b'di v'chol atar v'atar. Yehi lechon u'lechon shalom araba china v'chista v'rachamim v'chayin arichin u'mizone revichei v'forkana mi kadam abohon v'vishmaya v'ara v'imiru, amen. Yehi shalom araba min shemaya v'chayim olenu v'al kol Yisrael v'imiru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imiru, amen. We turn to page 177 for the Baruch She'amar. Baruch She'amar v'haya olam, Baruch hu, Baruch Oseh v'reshit, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Omer v'yoseh, Baruch hu, Baruch Kozer Mekayim, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Merachem al haaretz, Baruch hu, Baruch Merachem al habriyot, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Meshalem Zachar Tov L'Reyav, Baruch hu, Baruch Ma'avir Apel al Meviora, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Elo Abraham L'Netzach, Baruch hu, Baruch Podem Atzil, Baruch hu, Baruch Shemo.
Page 186, we're now in Psuke du Zimra, elements from the book of Psalms, and a little bit of English, a little bit of responsive with us and responsive with us. Page 186. We're going to try this simultaneously with feeling, which is a challenge at this hour in the morning, but also with a Kaplanian chop, with an awareness that these are not necessarily literal statements. That doesn't mean they are not true. Try it on. Thinking big, thinking metaphorically, thinking expansively. I'll read the opening of each line and you read the following. The Torah of the One is flawless. It restores the soul. The testimony of the One is pure. It makes wise the simple. Precepts of the One are sure. They make the heart rejoice. Fear or awe of the One is pure. It stands eternally. Desired more than gold, greater than the purest gold. Your servant, too, is being enlightened by them. Our petty failures, who can understand? And from premeditated ones as well, protect your servant. Then might I be closer to perfect, cleared of grave wrongdoing. Together, may the utterances of my mouth be pleasing, the conceptions of my heart before you, precious one, my rock, my champion. Ihiu l'ratzon imre fihi, Vehegyon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, vegoali, Vegolim. Page 216.
Yeah, 217, but that's all right. Shir Ma'alot LeDavid Tzimachta Ba'omlim Li Beit Adonai Nelech Omodot Hayu Ragleinu B'Shirayich Yerushalayim Yerushalayim Habenuya Ke'ir Shechubra La Yachta. למען החי ורעי, למען החי ורעי, אדברה נא שלום, שלום בך. למען בית אדוני, למען בית אדוני, Eloheinu avaksha tov lach. And we now turn to page, did we skip over the Psalm for Shabbat?
I
209.
was back here. It wasn't
Yeah.
on the outline. But...
Oh, was it?
Oh, it was.
It was
That
on the
was my
outline.
bad.
That's
All right.
okay. I do like to say the prayer, the Psalm for Shabbat on Shabbat. So we will do that. Mizmor shir liyom hashabbat tov lehodot ladonai
209.
uzameh leshimcha elyon uzameh leshimcha elyon lehagid baboker chastecha ve'emunatecha baleila עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור, מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, וזמר לשמך עליון, וזמר לשמך עליון. Continue to the last four lines on the next page. Four lines from the bottom on page 211. Tzadik atamar yifrach Ke'erez bavanon yizkeh shetulim beveit Adonai bechatzrod Eloheinu yafrichu Od yenuvun beseva, deshenim berananim, yehu lehagid, ki ashar Adonai, tzuri, velo avlatabo. We turn to page 231. Page 231, Psalm 150, the very last of all the Psalms that were written. Hallelujah, hallelujah, bekacho. Hallelujah, bekiriazo. Hallelujah, begevurata. Hallelujah, get of good love. Hallelujah, v'teka shofar. Hallelujah, v'nevel v'chinor. Hallelujah, v'tofu machol. Hallelujah, v'minim v'ugav. Hallelujah, hallelujah, b'tziltzalei shama. Hallelujah, hallelujah, b'tziltzalei truah. Kohen shamate hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Kohen shamate hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Baruch Adonai l'olam amen v'amen. Baruch Adonai misanjachin Yerushalayim, hallelujah. Baruch Adonai Elohim Elohei Yisrael, Osei niflaot levado, Baruch Shem kavodo leolam. Yimalei kavod kol haaretz, amen v'amen. Page 235, Mishmat Kocha. Nishmat kochai tevarech et shemech Adonai Eloheinu v'ruach kol basar tevaret olamam. Zivcha maken tamid min olam ve'ad olam ata el mibladecha in lanu melech kol el Mashiach podeh matzil ufarnes merachim b'chol eit tzara v'tzuka in lanu melech ela ata. And we'll read together in English on page 236, the second paragraph. Second paragraph, page 236. And where our mouths oceans of song, our tongues alive with exultation like the water's waves, our lips filled full of praises like the heaven's dome, our eyes lit up like sun and moon, our hands spread out like eagle's wings, our feet as light as those of the gazelle, we would never have sufficient praise for you, abundant one, our God, God of our ancestors, nor could we bless your name enough for even one small measure of the thousands upon thousands of the times of goodness when you acted for our ancestors and us. We continue on the top of page 241. Nehalecha nishbecha nevecha v'na'arech et shem kodshecha ka'amor leDavid baruchi nafshi et Adonai v'chol kadavai et shem kodsho el tashumot uzecha hagadol b'chvod shemecha hagibor lenetzach lahana benoratecha hamelech hayoshev al kisei ram b'nisan. We're in the middle of page 241. We finished our warm-up. Now we get into the heart of the Shabbat morning service. Shochen ad maharaho v'kadosh shemo v'chatuv ananu tzadikim b'Adonai la'yesharim navatehila B'fi sharim titromam u'divrei tzadikim titparach u'v'shon chasidim titkadash u'v'kerev kedoshim titalah u'v'makalot ribevot Amacha Beit Yisrael Berina Yitbar Shemecha Lehodot Lehalel Leshabech Lefarel Ledomehim Leadel Levarech Laleu Kales Hakol Divrei Shirot V'Tishbechot David ben Yishai Abdecha Meshichecha. Middle of page 243 Yishtabach. Yishtabach Shimecha La'ad Malkeinu Oel HaMelech Eloheinu Shamayim V'Haaretz. Berachot v'hodaot me'ata v'yad olam baruch atah Adonai HaMelech Ador batishbachot el haodot Adonai niflaot Habocher b'shirei zimra melech el chei haolamim Yitkahadal v'yitkahadash me'rahaba Miyam emadi v'rachidutei v'yamalech malchutei B'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayedecho beit Yisrael Ba'akala v'zman kari v'imedu amen Yesh me'ra b'mevorach Le'olam olam me'om haya Yit b'harach v'yishtahabach V'yitbar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh V'yitahadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemeide kudesha berichu Li'ela min kol bechachata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Da'amiran miyama v'imedu amen. Please rise for the call to prayer, page 247. Barechu et Adonai Amevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Yotzei Avdei Choshech Oseh Shalom Uvarei et hakol. We now turn to page 253 for El Adon. El Adon HaKol HaMa'asim Baruch Mevorach V'Pikon Neshama Godlo V'Tuvo Malei Olam Da'at U'Tvuna Soveh B'Moto Hamikael HaChayot HaKodesh B'Neder B'Chavod Halam Merkava Zechut U'Mishor Lifnei Chiso Chesed V'Rachamim Lifnei Kavahoto Tovim Meorot Shebara Eloheinu Yitzaram B'Da'at B'Vina Uvaskel Koach U'Gvura Natan Bahem Liyot Moshlim B'Kerev Tevel Meleim Zib Mufikim Nogan Noezivam B'Chol HaOlam Samechim b'tzeitam b'sasim b'voam Osim b'yema retzon konam B'yer v'chavod notnim lishmot zochola V'rina lezecher malchuto Kara l'shemesh b'yizrachor Ra'a v'hitim zudat l'vachana Shevach notnim lo Kol tzvam adom tiferet gedula srafim beofanim v'chayot hakodesh. We turn to page 265. We get ready for the Shema on this particular day. Yotzer Meshartim v'Asher Meshartav Kulam Omdim B'Rum Olam Umashmi'im B'Yira Yachad B'Kol Divrei Elohim Chayim U'Melech Olam Kulam Achuvim Kulam B'Durim כולם גיבורים, וכולם עושים בימי רצון קונם, וכולם חוטאים את פיהם בקדושה וטהרה, בשירה ובזמרה, ומברכים ומשבחים, ומפארים מעריצים, ומקדישים וממליכים. את שם האל המלך הגדול, הגיבור והנודע, קדוש הוא. וכולם מקבלים עליהם ומלכות שמיים זה מזה, ונותנים באהבה רשות זה לזה, להקדיש את עצמם בנחת רוח, בשפה ברורה ונימה קדושה, כולם כחרונים, ועומדים ביראה. קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. באופנים בחיית הקודש, ברעש גדול מן הצינם הצרפים, לעומתם משבחים ואומרים, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. On the top of page 269. לאל בדוח נמות ייתנו, למלך החי וקיים זמירות יומדו ותשבחות ישמיעו, כי הוא לבדו אדום וקדוש פועל גבורות עושה חדשות, זורע צדקות, מצמיח ישועות, בורא רפואות, נורא תהילות, אדוני נפלאות, המחדש בטובו בכל יום תמיד מעשה בראשית כאמור, ועושה עולים גדולים, כי לעולם חסדו. אור חדש על ציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו במהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני, יוצר המאורות.
Behind us now, the prayer about God as the universal creator, the driving force behind nature. If we are co-partners with God in the ongoing work of creation, as tradition tells us, then the Yotzer prayer wasn't just praise to the one behind it all, but clarity for ourselves to defend it all. Something that our Shaliach Tzibor has spent a lot of time in. Shout out to Peter Dratch in Colorado and David Wadowski across the river, and so many others in the room, on Zoom and beyond, for whom this is a passion. Vicky Bremen too, going back to the day in Georgia. Yesterday, our country took an imperfect and long overdue, but vitally important step in that direction. The largest climate investment in history. Thank God, literally, Baruch Yotzer HaMeorot. For a Judaic frame on that, here's what Dalia Rakowitz of Jewish Climate Action Group, Dayenu, said about it in this week that we should remember started with Tisha B'Av and ended with Tu B'Av as we went from mourning to joy. With nearly $370 billion in investments in clean energy, transportation, and other climate solutions, this act sets us on a path toward a clean energy future, saving lives, creating millions of jobs, strengthening our energy security, beginning to address environmental justice. We also acknowledge that there are some deeply troubling provisions in the bill, favors to the powerful fossil fuel lobby that will cause harm to communities across the country and could delay the energy transition we need. On Tisha B'Av, we read from Megillat Eicha, the Book of Lamentations. Many interpret the word Eicha as the question of how, an articulation of anger, sadness, and frustration. The world is in flames. How did we get here? And how do we rebuild? This act represents hope for a new kind of world, not one that is perfect, but one that gives future generations a fighting chance. The era of fossil fuels isn't over. but this is the beginning of its end. We pledge to stand shoulder to shoulder with our friends and allies on the front lines of poverty, racism, and pollution to ensure that they and all communities can survive and thrive for generations to come. And let us say, Amen. Blessed is the one who renews each day, always, the work of creation, as Kevin just led us in. And blessed are we with this step toward protecting that creation. And it connects with what's coming up next, the Shema, wrapped in a prayer of love. Later this morning, we'll hear it in original context. Listen, Israel, God, oneness. Then, and you shall love the eternal your God, b'chol levavcha, with all your heart, uv'chol nafshecha, with all your being, in later Hebrew, your soul, uv'chol me'odecha, with all of your muchness. That's the best translation. Commentaries take that to mean your resources, your money and property, or commonly with all thy might. Love is an ethereal notion. How can it be commanded? And how can it be measured? What quantum of love is sufficient to say one is now yotze? No more requirement to love. You've done enough. You've fulfilled the obligation. And how the heck do we love an invisible, inscrutable, ultimately unknowable divinity? Obviously, there's no final or right answer to these questions. But as Martin Buber taught, in the end, love of the Creator and love of that which God has created are one and the same. As a society, we just put some serious muchness, 369 billion, toward our love of creation and all of God's children. Is that enough? No. Are we done? Heck no. Can we ever love enough or show enough love? Not really. But one mitzvah, goreret, causes, encourages, begets another mitzvah, and another, and another. So buoyed by the impressive, though insufficient step just taken, let's keep committing our muchness, our me'od, and our souls, and our hearts to the love of God, which is to say, to solidarity with the creations. Page 273, Ahava Rabbah, the great love that God has already shown us, followed by the unity of the Shema and the reciprocal command to show God some love, ve'ahavta. 273.
The only problem with Rabbi Fred's remarks is that it took so many years for him to be able to say them.
Amen.
Page 273. Ahava Rabbah Havtanu Adonai Eloheinu Chem Lagedod Aviteirach Amalta Leinu Avinu Malkeinu Ba'avur Avotenu V'Imateinu Shabbat Chuvecha Avinu Malkeinu V'Telamdem Chukei Chaim Ken Techonenu Tlamdenu Avinu Avarachaman Amrachem Rachem Aleinu V'tein b'libeinu le'avinu la'askil lishmoa lilmod u'lelamed lishmor ve'lasot ולקיים את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה. והרר עינינו בתורתך ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך ויחד לבבנו באהבה וירא את שמך ולא נבוש, ולא נקלל, ולא נקשר, לעולם ועד, כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו, נגילה ונשמחה, נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך. והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו קוממיות, קוממיות לארצנו. כי אל פה ישועות אתה, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול, סלע. באמת להודות לך, אוי אחריך, אוי אחריך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושנתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך ובקומך, ובשעתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Second paragraph is read silently, and we will join together for the third paragraph on page 285. למען ירבו ימיכם וימי בניכם על האדמה אשר נשבע אדוני לאבותיכם לתת להם, כימי השמיים על הארץ. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף בתל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית, ראיתם אותו, זכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. A teachable moment. If you look at the last words of the third paragraph of the Shema, you'll see that the word emet is in a box and it's much larger than the other words. And actually, if you turn the page, you can see that emet in reverse type, if you will, is the first word of the next paragraph. So why is it that we end the paragraph differently than we actually have in the Torah? Well, if the Chazan is to go ahead and recite the last words, he or she would be saying, Ani Adonai Elohechem, I am the Lord your God. But the Chazan does not have the hubris to do this. This Chazan doesn't, okay, for sure. And so instead, the Chazan says, Adonai Elohechem Emet, the Lord our God is a God of truth. Emes. All right. Let's turn to the top of page 291 as we get ready for our Amidah, the morning service. Tehilot Elyon Baruch Hu Mevorach Moshe Miriam B'nei Yisrael Echanu Shira B'simcha Rabbah V'amaru Chulam Mi chamocha bo'elim Adonai Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh Norati hilot osef eleh Shira chadasha shibuchu geulim L'shimcha l'asafat hayam Yachad kulam hodu v'himlichu v'yameduhu Adonai yimloch le'olam bo'eh. Please rise. We'll start in a minute. It's Surah Yisrael. I want to give you a heads up on a couple things. I will fade out at the end of this particular paragraph and not recite it because we are, at least the way I was taught, not supposed to hurry up the Redeemer. The Redeemer will come. And so I will say that very softly. And I've grown now accustomed to put the Imahot and the Avot together. So it's Elohei Abraham Velohei Sarah, because it was only when they were together that they had the relationship that was so special. And each of our forefathers and foremothers in that respect. And I will also include Elohei Yisrael, because most of us actually come from Yisrael as opposed to Yaakov. Jacob loved Rachel. That's very true, but I've always felt a soft spot for Leah, who gets left out. And so I will say Elohei Yisrael, Jacob's second name, and then include that with Leah. Tzur Yisrael, Kuma be'ezrat Yisrael, U'padechenu mecha, Yehuda ve'Yisrael, Go aleinu Adonai tzvaot shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch Ata Adonai Go'al Adonai Sipatai Tiftachu V'yagid Tehilatecha Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu v'le'avoteinu v'imoteinu Elohei Abraham v'Elohei Sarah Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Rivka Elohei Yaakov v'Elohei Rachel Elohei Yisrael v'Elohei Leah Oel HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanoda El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim V'Konei HaKol V'Zocher Chasdei Avot Imot Mevi Geula Livnei V'Nehem Leman Shemo V'Ahava Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen Baruch Ata Adonai Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah Atagi Balaram Adonai Rav Lahoshia Morid Hatao Mechakel Chayim Bechesed Mechaye Kol Chay Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Fecholim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Lishenei Afar Michamocha Bal Gevurot Umidom Elach Melech Meimit Umechayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman ata l'chachayot kochai Baruch ata Adonai Mechaye kochai. Page 303. Nikadesh et shimcha ba'olam kishem shemakdishim oto b'shmei marom kakatuv yad nevi'echa v'kara zeh el zeh v'yamahar kadosh kadosh Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Malach Haaretz Kivodo. Azbekor Ashkadol, Adir v'chazak Mashmim Ko. Minatzin Matzrafim Numotam Baruch Yomedu. Baruch Kavod Adonai. Mimikomo, Mimkomcha Malkeinu Tofia, Betim Lochaleinu, Kimechakim Anachnu Lach, Matai Timeloch. Timloch betzion, bekarav beyamenu, leolam boet tishkon, titkadal v'titkadash, titkadal v'titkadash, betor Yerushalayim mercha, Yerushalayim mercha. Le dorvador, le dorvador, le dorvador, le dorvador, le netzach netzachim. Le dorvador, le dorvador, le dorvador, le dorvador, le netzach netzachim. Veinenu tirena malchutecha. Kadavar hamor b'shirei uzecha. Yimloch Adonai leolam Elohayich Sion ledor vador. Hallelujah. Ledor vador nagid God lecha. Netzach netzachim kushatecha nakdish. V'shivcha Eloheinu pinu lo yamush le'olam bo'ed. Ki el melech gadol v'kadosh ata. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Please continue your Amidah silently in Hebrew and English, whatever way you wish to commune with God. Please continue your Amidah if you have not finished it. If you have, please join me on page 323, 3 lines from the bottom. Page 323, 3 lines from the bottom. Yehiud ratzon imrefi, Yehiud ratzon imrefi, Vegion libi lefanecha, Adonai tzuri v'goali, Ose shalom bimromav, Ose shalom bimromav, Uyase shalom aleinu, Yalko Yisrael, Yalko Yoshvei Tevel, V'imru, Amen. Sometimes I think we fly through the Amidah and don't really take cognizance of what we're learning from it. I'm going to ask Rabbi Fred to recite on going back to page 310 on the top of the page, and then we will have Kaddish Shalom.
310. You guys sprung that on me. Our God, our ancients God, take pleasure in our rest. Enable us to realize holiness through your mitzvot. Give us our portion in your Torah. Let us enjoy the good things of your world and gladden us with your salvation. Refine our hearts to serve you honestly. Dear one, our God, help us to perpetuate your holy Shabbat with love and joy. Let all Israel and all who treat your name as holy rest upon this day. Blessed are you, sacred one, source of the holiness of Shabbat. Page 381, Kaddish for the completion of prayer.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei Rabba, miyamma divrei chirutei v'yamalech malachutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon v'chayedecho Beit Yisrael, Bagala ubizman karive imeru amen. Yesh meraba mevarach me'olam olam me'yomaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yittadai v'yittahaleh V'yitalo shemei kudesha berichu li'ela min kol bechata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata ta'amiran miyama v'imru amen. Tikabal seloton uva'uton Techo Beit Yisrael kodam avuhon B'vishmaya v'imeru amen. Yesh lamaraba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu Chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru amen. Ose shalom bimromav, uyase shalom, uyase shalom aleinu. Uyase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Shalom aleinu v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimeru. Amen.
A hearty Yasher Koach to our Shaliach Tzibor, Kevin, who is both a great davener, a protector of creation, an awesome grandpa, etc. But for our purposes, also a co-chair of the Religious Practices Committee. And so Kevin and I speak in one voice, inviting you to join the ranks of the many amazing daveners in the life of our community. And if you feel like you've been coming to shul enough, you've got some of the skills, I'm saying this out there to the ether as well, and you just need a little polish, a little work to get over the finish line, you are heartily invited to reach out to either of us, and we will resource you and see you on the Bima. Thank you, and thank you. We were hoping to dragoon a teen because they all, have been through B mitzvah, but outside of the sound booth, we don't have any. And so for the Torah service, Ein Kamocha, etc., is there anyone who just feels like they want to do what they've, out loud, what they've been enjoying for all these seasons by leading those few pages in the prayer book starting on 383 that so many of us know? Mark, thank you. Excellent. So always nice to have additional voices in the morning. We are going to be joined in a moment by Phil Brunel and Peter Richmond to take the Torah out and through the community. Page 383.
Ein kamocha v'Elohim Adonai v'ein kamasecha malachutecha malachut kol olamim umemshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai yimloch Le'olam va'ed Adonai oz li'amo yitain Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom Aharachamim heitiva b'rtzoncha et Sion Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim Ki lecha levad batachnu Melech Elam benisa Adon olamim. Vayhi bin Aaron vayomer Moshe Kuma Adonai v'yafusu oivecha v'yanusu misanecha mipanecha ki Tzion tetzei Torah ki Tzion tetzei Torah U'devar Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Li'amo Yisrael B'kedushato.
Page 393. Close the inner doors this evening. Thank you. And Phil, join us too. 393, Mark and company will lead, and we respond.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Gadolu Adonai iti, Unerome ma Shemo Yachdav.
The rounds.
Lecha Adonai.
Thank you so much. Gevura, Tiferet, Lehanetzach, Lehahod. Kiko hashamayim u'ba'aretz, Kiko hashamayim Yisrael ve'oraita kudsha brichu chadhu Torah ora, Torah ora, hallelujah. Torah ora, Torah ora, hallelujah. Thank you all. Torah ora, Torah ora, hallelujah. Torah ora, Torah ora, hallelujah. Right. Good Shabbos. An initial question for Matt Wald online, or anyone in here, if you know where the handheld microphones live. Awesome. Thank you so very much. We are going to have a little conversation that hopefully includes some comments from the chat from all of you out there. We want you to be as incorporated as possible, as well as from within the room, as we prepare to read Parshat Va'etchanan. We already translated me'od from bechol me'odcha, right, with all of your muchness, as exactly that. And it's very appropriate because there is great muchness in this parsha. For starters, the 10 utterances, the Aseret HaDibrot, also known as the 10 Commandments, or the Big 10, colloquially. We keep adding to them. Not that Big 10. And that, of course, is in one of their two appearances, Exodus 19 and Deuteronomy 5. And then there's the one appearance of the ultimate statement of oneness, the Shema. The latter, in the final third of our parsha, which means we only read it from the Torah directly in situ once every 3 years in our triennial system. But we say it about 2,200 times traditionally in a 3-year cycle, twice a day, every day. And that's not even counting the bedtime Shema, which would put it over 3,000. That's how important this principle of unity is. As if to say, listen up, y'all, God, whether the anthropomorphized God of history who talks with people, the Yud-He Vav-He, or the unmovable eternal God of creation, the El, the immanent Jehovah, or the transcendent Elohim Eloheinu. God, by whatever name, is echad, one. And if the force behind the universe is one, then we, created in that one's image, are also at root one. Then ve'ahavta. The very next line turns it in our direction. You shall love that one, your God. It's still part of what we call the first paragraph of the Shema. Earlier this morning, before the Shema as part of the liturgy, which it is all the time, between the nature and the Torah blessings, Yotzer and Ahava Rabbah, I shared the following. This is just 2 paragraphs, short pieces from what I shared earlier, but this time they are a discussion prompt. On Zoom, I will try to monitor chat responses and wanting a few of your voices to enter the mix. And in the room, hopefully the microphones are getting there. Ken is on it. Matt responded, thank you. The black cabinet that I thought was locked, but maybe not. Thank you, Matt. So if we've got him, great. If not, I'll ask you to speak up very loudly, and then I'll say it back into the these microphones. The questions that I'm about to ask as discussion prompts are rhetorical. They are ultimately unanswerable, and we're going to tackle them anyway, because that's what we do. So here goes. Love is an ethereal notion. So how can it be commanded? And how can it be measured? What quantum of love is sufficient to say that one is now yotze? There's no more requirement to love. I've done enough. I've fulfilled the obligation. And how the heck do we love the ultimately invisible, inscrutable, unknowable God? Unanswerable, but let's try. How do we command love? How do we measure love? How do we love? Big questions. Take a moment. And in the room or on Zoom, any reflections on the sense that we make of that imperative ve'ahavta, you must love, et Adonai Elohecha, the Holy One, your God, with all your heart, with all your life or soul, and with all your muchness. How? How much? When? Who? Irv. Thank you.
Ta-da, ta-da, testing, testing. So I used to work a lot at Georgetown, and sometimes I'd go to their masses. And they're
Hold it close.
one of the things that the Jesuits talked about was God is the love of love. And I still remember it 20 years later. I still don't totally understand it, but I kind of appreciate it. So I'm sorry to be mixing religions here, but it made a very impact on me, big impact on me.
First, we should never apologize for taking great insights from other faith traditions. Our Siddur proudly does that, and that's how we roll. And so thank you. From his time at Georgetown, hearing the Jesuit priests talk of God as the love of love, which doesn't exactly answer the question, but it deepens it in a powerful way. And it's almost a Kaplanian adjacent step of taking God out of the anthropomorphic actor idea and making God a concept or a force. God as the love of love. Thank you. Beautiful. Phyllis.
You will rarely hear this reference from me, but in my former marriage, which was to someone who lost his first wife to breast cancer, I questioned how there was the possibility to love again someone else, particularly me. And he had an extraordinary answer. So like Irv, I'm going back many years because it's that memorable. He said that when they had their first child, he was so absolutely in love that one of the anxieties was when they had a second child, would he have enough? And he said, as a result of the enormity of love with the first child, that's when they discovered that love was infinite and that I could definitely be categorized in that space.
Beautiful. Thank you. So when you, thank you. No, beautiful to bring David's in that way. So Yasher Koach. And that idea that love is so potentially overpowering that the first time we experience it in a conscious adult way, it seems unique. And then, of course, it is because no two loves are exactly the same. And yet, when you then love again as deeply as with a child after a spouse, or as with a second child after a first, or a second profound relationship after another, how incredible. And that then opens the door, right? Like that Shelf Silverstein poem, you know, what is it? Annie McGee, I love just thee. No, I also love the apple tree, right? And like, you know, silly boy, can't you see you can love another and still love me? That hopefully we have enough love to go around. Nice, thank you. Please, Craig.
Thank you. Maybe a more current example than Phil is, so I have an 11-year-old right now. I do not like him. I do not like him at all.
Okay.
but I love him, right? I love him more than I could ever imagine I could love somebody like this. And so maybe it's part of this is sort of separating like from love, right? And that's what I'm doing. And so I can imagine my love for God, I think, through this love I have for this child who I really, really don't like right now.
Always, always. Thank you. So a few from our friends on Zoom, some powerful observations. Steve Brody, already anticipating where I'm going in the conclusion of this, he writes, I wonder if deep appreciation, such as of nature and natural wonders, represents love. I certainly feel such appreciation of nature and the marvelous diversity of life on this home planet when I'm paddling my kayak or on my bike, like yesterday, all the way to Kenilworth. Very nice. And so again, deep appreciation and nature, hold that in your mind. Carol Klinger suggesting love is continuous and permeable. Love that line. Love is continuous and permeable. So as it suffuses the object of love, it is impossible to measure. Back to that question of what is the quantum? If it's a commandment, how do you know when you're done? And Marcia Teichman, love may be viewed as an act of humility, particularly as one must stretch at times to remain open enough to embrace the other. The connection of two of the great midot of ahava, love, and of anava, humility. Right on, and thank you. Hannah, please. Hold it, close.
I guess you're talking about V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha. So I just wanted to bring something antagonistic, if I can say. I'm taking a class with a teacher that teaches a lot about the mythology of the Middle East and the Deuteronomy school. And actually at that time, Ahava meant to learn and know and not to love. So when we say V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, it really means learn and know all his laws. So I just wanted to bring another aspect.
So investigate or appreciate which is debatably part of the biblical shoresh of ahava, although really that's more yada, right? Think about how that is to know and to explore, so to speak. But Maimonides makes exactly that turn, that it's about deep engagement with, right? So go deep with God, which is almost in the same semantic range as love today, right? But you see the different emphases that it acquires over the centuries. Thank you so much. Marilyn.
So I was wondering whether you can be commanded to love anybody except, I mean, you can be commanded to love God, but you can't be commanded to love anyone else. Just think of Romeo and Juliet, any of the, or you can't be commanded not to love someone you love. So I just wonder, is it unique only to God that we shalt love?
Happily, it is not, because of course, there are 3 appearances of ve'ahavta that you must love, right? 3 group entities that we must love, and God is one, and the other 2 are?
L'reacha kamocha.
Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, love your neighbor, love your fellow as yourself, your generic other, right, which is anyone. So that is kind of agape, if we use the Greek breakdown of the different kinds of love, philos and eros and all of those, right? Agape is this broad love, and we must have that kind of love for whoever we encounter. And then we need extra for the structurally disadvantaged. And so the final one, so lo tonu et hager, do not oppress the stranger, the immigrant, the green card holder, the one who is in your midst but doesn't have the advantages of the rest of y'all. Ve'ahavta lo, you shall love that stranger. That's Leviticus chapter 19, verse 34. Good stuff, this Torah. So the ve'ahavta, love, right? There's almost a hyperlink for the biblically sensitive listener. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, love the eternal your God. Oh, that reminds me, love my neighbor, love the stranger in need of my solidarity. Wow. And that's the beauty of the more you know, the richer each piece becomes, because that pop-up cloud comes when the cursor of the mind hovers over it. So, okay, couple more, please, Donald.
I'm interested in 2 related loves. What invokes love and what withdraws it? How do you fall in love, and how do you fall out of love? Is it possible that you were never in love? And bringing it back to the Torah and Jewish history, what happens when God withdraws his love from his people Israel? And why did he do that? So I think Fred can answer those questions.
Piece of cake. It is very much related to covenant. You're absolutely right. And covenant always has that challenge, right? It's mutual, it's powerful, and then at some point it can end. And there's always a debate when it does about who is the party who caused the dissolution of that covenantal model. And love is covenantal. So that is a question that plagues Jewish history and defies easy answer. But you're absolutely right to raise it. Minna Scherlander-Morse, observing from 2 previous comments that apropos of Chana, that loving can mean learning and knowing another, related to Marcia's statement read earlier, loving enough to learn and know and make room for, right? Sort of that challenge of love. What is it that you give up in order for that greater measure of wholeness and meaning to enter? Make room for and continue loving as process. the other, including one's closest other, using the Musar language of start with your closest other and then radiate outward to all others. And before Steve, I think with the final word, Matt Childs, dialing in from Richmond, I believe, the commandment to love seems like a necessarily continuous, imperfect, and aspirational effort. It reminds to some degree of the idea addressed in the line, quote, "You are not obligated to complete the work, neither are you free to desist from it." That's Mishnah Avot 221. You may not reach a state of having sufficiently loved, but you have to keep at it to the best of your ability. Love, so to speak, as an asymptote. Right on, Matt. And Quentin, one last on Zoom before one last in the room. Love can be seen as an action word. So perhaps we are commanded to show love through our love behaviors toward God, toward others. Quentin, thank you. That's the perfect bridge. Steve.
Yeah, I wanted to say that unless you love yourself, you're not going to be very successful in loving others, other people, and loving God. I mean, we all know of people who self-sabotage and are angry with themselves and call themselves names, and that's not very helpful to going into this direction.
Thank you. So what is it about ourselves and our behaviors, our communication styles, our proclivities that keep us as open as possible to love? Where are the internal blockages? Beautiful, great direction. Thank you. So all the complexities of ve'ahavta, what really does it mean? There's not an answer here, but I believe a helpful observation that Quentin and others kind of prefigured, born of Musar, and that Musar inflected Western philosophy of French intellectual giant Emmanuel Levinas, who taught that love as an obligation to others is baked into the human experience. None of us would have made it past infancy, toddlerhood, and childhood without concrete manifestations of love by others. Thousands of hours, thousands of laughs and tears, thousands of dollars. People loving us as well or imperfectly as they do with all their heart, with all their soul, and with all their might. Parent or parents usually, but beyond. Family, friends, aunties, uncles, it takes a village. We come into our own consciousness, explains Levinas, with a debt that can never be repaid directly or fully. So paying it forward is a natural and necessary thing. And as a Holocaust survivor, Levinas underscored that our obligations to the other are not just for our own children or those in our own group or community or nation or race or religion, but this obligation to love is generalized. It is for everyone, no exceptions. In the same school, Rabbi Akiva Eger taught, and this comes back to the Maimonidean idea that, that Hannah introduced, as soon as we, and also Steve Brody's opening comment, as soon as we consider and realize what people and God have done for us, our natural response is to appreciate it. When someone genuinely shows us love, it's natural for us to feel appreciated and return that love. The commandment, ve'ahavta, to love God, acknowledges the reflexive nature of love and enables us to behold and appreciate the love reflected in all that God has done for us. Just interrupting Rabbi Akiva Eger, that we, of course, can understand the love that God has done for us is the love that others have divinely done for and with us, right? Because we are God's hands, or God has no hands but ours. Behold and appreciate the love reflected in all that God and others have done for us, which will naturally lead to our loving back. By extension, This lesson is true of all our relationships. Focusing on love and kindness will inevitably bring that back to us in return and contribute to our overall happiness. Ve'ahavta. It may not always work to do as Rabbi Eger describes, not obviously, not cleanly, not perfectly. But what better path, what more natural mitzvah than to appreciate what we have and then show some love back, focusing on love and kindness. Shabbat shalom. We have 3 aliyot today, 3 aliyot and a wonderful haftarah. And thank you to Chana Weisberger, who will be doing 2 of the very substantive pieces. And thank you also to Shana, I believe, for lining up so many of the honors. There is 1 more aliyah still available. So if you have not yet signed up for an honor, I've got all the other names here, but anyone here who would like can. Thank you. Awesome. In honor of our homecomings tomorrow, perhaps, or as you wish, but awesome. You will be, oh, wait a minute. Shown Shaney. I'm sorry. Okay, acknowledged. It'll happen tomorrow. All right, because the Shlishi is the Haftarah reader. So, all right. We are starting with the Big Ten on page 1354 in the old Plout, or 1194 in the new. Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 1. And Bavakasha. You are starting at Pasuk Aleph? Yeah. Yofi. Okay. Hamon toda. Vayazor ve'vigen v'yoshia l'chol echosim bo v'nomar. Hakol havu godolenu nuchabod laTorah. Ya'amod. Craig, you are up. And Hebrew? Kalman ben Aryeh la'aliyah rishona baruch shenatan Torah lo ma'Yisrael b'kedushato ve'atem hadvekim l'Adonai Elohechem chaim kolchem hayom. It's not working.
Oh, okay.
Stuck. Sorry. I know. I believe, is it Vayikra Moshe?
Yes.
So, Baba. Chapter 5, verse 1. It is traditional to rise once we get to the 10 utterances themselves.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kavanu le'avod dato v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. ויקרא משה אל כל ישראל, ויאמר עליהם, שמע ישראל את החוקים ואת המשפטים, אשר אנוכי דובר באוזניכם היום, ולמדתם אותם, ושמרתם לעשותם. אדוני אלוהינו, כרת עמנו ברית בחורב, לא את אבותינו כרת אדוני את הברית הזאת, כי איתנו אנחנו אלה פה היום, כולנו חיים פנים בפנים. דיבר אדוני עמכם בהר מתוך האש. אנוכי עומד בין אדוני וביניכם בעת ההיא להגיד לכם את דבר אדוני, כי יראתם מפני האש ולא עליתם בהר לאמור. אנוכי אדוני אלוהיך, אשר הוצאתיך מארץ מצרים, מבית עבדים. לא יהיה לך אלוהים אחרים על פניי, לא תעשה לך פסל כל תמונה, אשר בשמיים ממעל ואשר בארץ מתחת, ואשר במים מתחת לארץ, לא תשתחווה להם ולא תעבדיהם, כי אנוכי אדוני אלוהיך אלקנה, פוקד עוון אבות על בנים ועל שלישים ועל ריבעים לשונאי, ועושה חסד לאלפים, לאוהבי ולשומרי מצוותי. לא תישא את שם אדוני אלוהיך לשווא, כי לא ינקה אדוני את אשר יישא את שמו לשווא. שמור את יום השבת לקדשו, כאשר ציווך אדוני אלוהיך. 6 ימים תעבוד ועשית כל מלאכתך, ויום השביעי שבת לאדוני אלוהיך. לא תעשה כל מלאכה, אתה ובנך וביתך, ועבדך ואמתך, ושורך וחמורך, וכל בהמתך, וגרך אשר בשעריך, למען ינוח עבדך ואמתך כמוך, וזכרת כי עבד היית בארץ מצרים, ויוציאך אדוני אלוהיך משם ביד חזקה ובזרוע נטויה. על כן ציווך אדוני אלוהיך לעשות את יום השבת, תעבד את אביך ואת אמך, כאשר ציווך אדוני אלוהיך, למען יאריכון ימיך, ולמען ייטב לך על האדמה אשר אדוני אלוהיך נותן לך. לא תרצח ולא תנאף ולא תגנוב ולא תענה ברעך עד שווא ולא תחמוד אשת רעך ולא תתאווה בית רעך, שדהו ועבדו ואמתו שורו וחמורו וכל אשר לרעך.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, וכן עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen.
I have to say one thing. I practice it a lot at home, and my cat is listening to me. But it's overpowering to do it here, not with my cat.
We are grateful that you did it here. That was tour de force. The public reading has different cantillation than elsewhere, and it throws the entire book at you. And wow, thank you. Yesh koach. Okay, second aliyah, and this will include an invitation for anyone who is a budding Torah reader to come and look over Kevin's shoulder. This was a wonderful insight from Marcia, who was going to be the reader, Refuah Shlema, and that because this is so well known, it doesn't have to be only the sole reader. So anyone who is on the journey of becoming a Torah reader, however you define that, you're going to come on up with Kevin. But first, Ya'amod, Steve Hellman, Sholem Ben Shmuel, Udevora, La'aliyah Shenit, Lehashema, chapter 6, with the introductory verse 3, and then Shema and Ve'ahavta. We all know it, and we even know it to the trope, or at least one version of the trope. And this is your chance. We are on page 1201 in the new clout, or 1366 in the old. 1201 in the new, 1366 in the old. Are there any budding Torah readers who would like to follow along in the original, chant it out loud? You're not going to make a mistake. You know this one already.
Marsha will teach you.
Come on. Who's close to it? All right. I'm sure everyone on Zoom is
Right,
going,
right.
me, I
Right,
wish.
right.
Yeah, have a look.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher kirvanu levodato v'notan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Here we go. Amen. ושמעת ישראל ושמרת לעשות אשר יפתח לך ואשר תרבון מאוד כאשר דיבר אדוני אלוהי אבותיך לך ארץ זבת חלב ודבש שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושינתם לבניך ודיברת בם ושיתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך בשכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, יהיו לטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Thank you both. Thank you, Kevin. And thank you, everyone out there. Sai, can you unspotlight and go back? Thank you so much. Hopefully everyone out there was able to follow along quite literally over the reader's shoulder. And beautiful to see the extra large ayin and daled of the end of the word Shema and the end of the word echad, right, make aid or witness, and they are enlarged, and it is beautiful. Pausing in the reading for just a moment for the Mishaberach Lecholim. This is a chance to lift up for a blessing of healing another or ourselves who may be in need of physical or spiritual or emotional healing. So back to the chat and inviting in the chat from everyone in the hinterlands and also here the name and names of those for whom we wish that blessing. So, Lee Shai Weisbach, Jan Helper, Claire Childs, TG, Marcia and Quentin, Marcia and Quentin, Debbie Pressman, Barbara Studley, thank you. Diane Klein and Yale.
Hannah Bird and Speaker Govary.
Bob Hull, Liz Turner, Susan Yael Smith, Carol Klinger, Stuart Baum, many others in our midst, in our hearts, in our community, Matt Gilman, and many more. Mi sheberach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Refuah shlema. Adding Paula Jenkins and Rose Strickland and Mark Gunther's mom, who turns 97 next week. Refuah shlema to all. Ta'amod.
Hannah Bat Yaakov Pnina.
Chana Bat Yaakov Penina, I should know that by now. Hamaftir.
Oh,
So Chana will be giving voice to the very powerful and important Nachamu, the comfort offer from Isaiah that is our Haftarah. But we begin with the Maftir, chapter 7 of Deuteronomy, verse 9. This is on page 1205 in the New Plout, or 1378 in the old. Again, Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 9. And
this is the end, but I don't know where it starts.
so Be'adata.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Va'ed.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קרבנו לעבודתו ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Ve'yadata ki Adonai Elohecha hu ha'Elohim ha'el ha'ne'eman shomer habrit v'hachesed le'ohavav u'shomrei mitzvotav le'elef dor, showing kindness to those who follow God's commandments to the 1,000th generation. Umshalem lesonav el panav leha'abito lo ya'acher leson oho el panav yishalem loho veshamarta et hamitzvah, and you shall follow the commandment ve'et hachukim ve'et hamishpatim, and the less logical ritual laws and the more logical civic or ethical laws. Asher, trying to remember the trope on this one, sorry. Thank you. Asher anochi mitzavcha, that I am commanding you, hayom le'asotam, today to do them.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Shkoach. Right. Lifting and wrapping the Torah, Mark and Marilyn, please. Different Mark. That Marilyn. Yamod Hamagbiah Ta'amod Hagolelet. Can you do a column? Column wide. Take a look for the big Dalet, and you will see the Shema over here on the right. V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai beyad Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Morasha kehilat Yaakov. Morasha kehilat Yaakov, Morasha kehilat Yaakov, Torah tziva lanu Moshe.
Before, after, or after?
Oh,
Remember?
yes. How about at the end, and I'll give kind of Misha Berach about that.
Okay,
Okay.
sure.
So we may be seated, and there is an incredible connection that Chana will draw between the trip that she is making this week and the occasion for it, and this larger idea of comfort, comfort my people, because you went through an incredibly painful period. And now that period is behind us, and we are moving forward and healing despite the immense losses. That is the reality of 2nd Isaiah in the year 539 BCE. Read the Shabbat greeting if you didn't, for a little context on that. And this is the opening of 2nd Isaiah, and it is the first of 7 weeks of the Haftarot de Nehemta, the Haftarahs of consolation and comfort, starting with that opening word of 2nd Isaiah, Nachamu, Nachamu Ami, on page 1222 in the New Plout, or 1595 in the Old. Isaiah chapter 40.
I'm going to read verses 1 to 9, and then the last verse, which is 26. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנביאים טובים ורצה בדבריהם הנאמרים באמת. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בתורה ובמשה עבדו ובנביאי האמת והצדק.
אמן.
נחמו נחמו עמי יאמר אלוהיכם, דברו על לב ירושלים וקראו אליה, כי היא מלאה צבאה, כי נרצה עוונה, כי היא לקחה מיד אדוני, כפליים בכל חטאותיה. קול קורא במדבר, פנו דרך אדוני, ישרו בערבה, מסילה לאלוהינו. כל גיא נשא בכל הר וגבעה ישפלו, והיה העקוב למישור, והרכסים לבקעה, ונגלה כבוד אדוני, וראוהו כל בשר יחדיו, כי פי אדוני דיבר. כל אומר קרא, ואמר מה אקרא, כל הבשר חציר, וכל חסדו כציץ השדה. יבש חציר, נבל ציץ, כי רוח אדוני נשבה בו, אכן חציר העם. יבש חציר, נבל ציץ, ודבר אלוהינו יקום לעולם. על הר גבוה עלילך, מבשרת ציון, הרימי בכוח קולך, מבשרת ירושלים. הרימי אל תיראי, אמרי לערי יהודה, הנה אלוהיכם. שאו מרום עיניכם, וראו מי ברא אלה, המוציא במספר צבאם, לכולם בשם יקרא, מרוב אונים ואמיץ כוח, איש לא נעדר. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו, מלך העולם, צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, האל הנאמן, האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת בצדק. נאמן אתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ונאמנים דבריך, ודבר אחד מדבריך, אחור לא ישוב ריקם, כי אל מלך נאמן ברחמן אתה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הנאמן בכל דבריו. רחם על ציון כי בית חיינו, ולעמך ישראל תושיע במהרה בימינו. ברוך אתה אדוני, משמח ציון בבניה. שמחנו אדוני אלוהינו באליהו הנביא עבדך, במהרה יבוא ויגל ליבנו, והשיב לב אבות על בנים, ולב בנים על אבותם, וביתך בית תפילה יקרא לכל העמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, מביא שלום לעד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו מודיעים לך ומברכים אותך. יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת.
Amen. So second Isaiah, writing just before 539 BCE, was prophesying about a return to the place where tragedy had happened that was continuing to reverberate even in all the years since being there, but coming back for healing. And that is very appropriate for the trip that Hannah is taking that is worth our hearing a moment about, a roots trip of the most poignant kind, and we will bless her for that journey.
So in 2 days, on the 15th, I'm actually traveling to Poland, to my father's little town. It was called Meszana Dolna. I just found out Meszana name of the river that goes through the town, and Dolna mean lower, because there is also upper Meszana. My father left, he was 22 when the war started, and the Nazis invaded Poland on September 1st. Rosh Hashanah was very early, And on Rosh Hashanah, actually, his parents said, you have to run to the east. You will, otherwise you will be drafted to the military. And he ran away to the east, and that's why I'm here, because he survived. He ended up in a labor camp in Siberia, and he always said it's no comparison to what went in Poland. He lived in a small town, and what happened was during this time, the Nazis expelled all the Jews that lived around these towns. One of them was Zakopane, which was very famous for its water and so on. And then after the final solution on August 18, there was an order to pull up all the Jews in the area and execute them Nazi style. So 881 people were lifted up to the hill and killed. Well, the Nazis were very organized, so they were sitting, drinking. It took them 9 hours, and they had really what we call carbon copy, like 5 copies, and did check mark for whoever was executed. My father himself had his father and his 2 sisters. The 2 sisters actually were offered to escape by their friends, but they did not want to leave their father. One of the Poles actually stole one of the lists, wrapped it in tar to make it, impregnated it, and buried it in the dirt and said, when there will be a world again, give it to the first Jew that is coming back to the city. And the first Jew that came back was my father. So my father, the first thing he did was he copied the list and he did the check marks to the ones that were not executed. And the other thing he did was he asked for a license to erect a common grave for all the 881 Jews. And he put his name on the side. He wanted always people to know that it's not the Polish people did it, a Jew did it. Now, my father left Poland later. He met my mother later. That's who I am. And he swore that he will never come back to Poland. That's it. Well, he told me a lot about what happened, and we couldn't go because there were no diplomatic relationship. And as I say, he swore he will never go back. He also, just side story, was he always said, how Yom Kippur was such a sacred day that he felt that the fish were also petrified on this sacred day. And he always said, if you would want to go to Poland, I will break my vow. I'm a good daughter. I love my father. So I said, you know what? I really want to go and see the fish. And on the 51st, when the relationship were renewed, I went with my father on the 51st yahrzeit to say Kaddish on in this place. There were other people too. And I do want you to know that now, out of 881 Jews, my father knew a lot of them, but 16 were from my close family. So all my cousins, my age, and whoever was even older and could, actually went to Mishana Dolma. Well, this is 80 years since it all happened. So the quality of the monument just deteriorated. What happened was that the people of the city started to realize that they lost a lot by losing all the Jews in this area. And I don't remember, maybe 4 years ago, Ursula started to write to me, and that's what she told me. And she asked me a lot of questions and so on. I answered questions, I sent pictures and so on. And then she sent me pictures, that they are going actually to lighten a candle, yahrzeit candle, on August 18. And one time she even said, I have to apologize. The rabbi that was supposed to come either from Warsaw or Krakow, I don't know, couldn't come because the weather was terrible. So my son that learned Hebrew, he said the Kaddish. I wrote back to her and I said, I was crying. This is so moving for me. And thank you so much. And she wrote to me, don't thank me. I'm not doing it for you. I'm not doing it for anybody. We do it for ourselves. And I want to make emphasis of that. Well, the quality just deteriorated. She sent me pictures. So they actually got a grant to renew the monument. This year it will be 80 years Yortzeit Day, and I'm going. I feel like I'm taking my father, on my shoulders there. It's very, very moving for me. But to show you, that it's really important for them to acknowledge the loss of Jews. First of all, they planted a tree where the synagogue was because there is nothing. And they have a whole program from the 21st and the 22nd here and here. What they have is, I would say that they have an artist fair about Judaism. They have lectures with medical calligraphy, but then they have Hebrew calligraphy. And then if it's not enough Dayenu, they have also the klezmer music. So this is going to be very, very active. The next day, it will be the Yortzeit ceremony. I said, look, I don't want to take over, but I can do Kaddish, I can do El Maleh Rachamim. And I said, and she told me, and she said, somebody, Reb Hun, which is a rabbi and cantor, is coming from Israel. I said, fine, I don't overtake anything. But it's just very, very overwhelming for me. From all my cousins that all of them went to visit, actually nobody could attend. They have all kinds of other issues with whatever. So I'm going, and how can I say? It's overpowering for me. I'm meeting another woman that her family was also executed. She's from New York. So we are going to Lodz, Krakow, and Meshana Dona.
And for that journey to Meshana Dona, we bless you. Mi sheberach avotenu Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov v'imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah hu yavarech et Chana bat Yaakov u'Penina hanos'a le'eretz Polin yehi ratzon shetolicheha l'shalom v'tadricheha l'shalom v'tagieha limchoz chefza, to the complicated but real extent that this is a place that is close to your heart, l'chaim u'l'shalom, v'tachazireha eleha elenu b'shalom, v'yishlach bracha v'hatzlacha b'chol ma'aseh yadeha im kol Yisrael ama v'nomar amen. Nesia tova v'hamon toda. We turn back to page 421. A remarkable week in the annals of Israel and Gaza and the neighborhood. That may only be strengthening the ties to Egypt and elsewhere. And to the extent that this counts as one of the every 2 or 3 year wars with Gaza, it was remarkably short, not painless, but by comparison to previous, close. And of course, that country that is so close to our hearts for all the good historical reasons and all the ambivalent connections that continue, our prayers are directed there. Page 421, invite us to rise as may be your custom. I'm going to sing the opening, the melody that is well known, Avinu Shabashamayim, or the 2 words missing here twice through the opening, and then continuing as reading. Avinu Shabashamayim, Sur Yisrael v'goalo, Barechet Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Tzmichat Geulatenu, Imenu Shabashamayim, Sur Yisrael v'goalo, Barechet Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Tzmichat Geulatenu. הגן עליה ברוב חסדך ופרוס עליה סוכת שלומך, שלח אורך ואמיתך לראשיה ולשופטיה ולנבחריה, ותקנם בעצה טובה מלפניך למען ילכו בדרך הצדק והחופש והיושר. חזק ידי מגני ארץ קודשנו והנחילם ישועה וחיים, ונתת שלום בארץ ושמחת עולם לכל יושביה. פקוד נא לברכה את אחינו בית ישראל בכל ארצות פזוריהם, טב בליבם אהבת ציון, ומי בהם מכל עמנו יהי אלוהיו עמו ויעל. האצל מרוחך על כל יושבי ארץ קודשנו, הסר מקרבם שנאה ואיבה, קנאה ורשעות, ותא בליבם אהבה ואחווה, שלום ורעות, וקיים במהרה חזון נביאך, לא יישא גוי אל גוי חרב, ולא ילמדו עוד מלחמה, ונאמר אמן. Inviting Patty and Harvey Iglarsh to join us, page 433, as we return the Torah to the Ark. Yehalelu et Shem Adonai ki niskav shemo levado, hodo al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren le'amo, tehila lechol chasidav, livnei Yisrael am kerovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Page 441. Uvnucho yomar. Shuva Adonai Revov Nafei Yisrael ki lekach tov natati lachem torati al ta'azovu. Eitz chaim hi lemachazikim ba v'tomcheha meushar deracheha darchei noam v'chol netivoteha shalom. Ashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Kadesh yameinu kekedem. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mark. May be seated. Thank you all who participated in some way today, starting with Kevin, our amazing Shaliach Tzibur, and with Chana, our amazing Ba'alat Kriya. We turn our attention to those who are no longer with us, as we remember with Pam Levine Shank, her mother, Myrna, and with Michael Zusman, his grandmother, Clara Grossman, another Holocaust survivor who just passed away at the age of either 99 or 101 after a most amazing century. We recall as well those whose yahrzeits fall from this Shabbat through the coming one. Jamie Banks's grandfather, Hyman Knopp, Gil Rosen's mother, Rachel, Ken Avner's father, Hirsch, Mark Gunther's father, Edgar, Cheryl Rothenberg's father, Herbert, Polly Panitz's father, Stanley, Susan Diamond's late husband, Samuel Hazelet, Reed Schneider's mother, Doris, Sherry Malikin's mother, Susan Seaman, Myrna Goldenberg's mother, Faye Solomon Gallant, Jesse Abraham's grandfather, Irving Steinhorn, Sidney Schwarz's grandfather, Charles Brand, Jody Lipson's sister, Sherry Bidwell, Deborah Basilis's stepfather, Norman Landy, Mark Wolf's father, Kurt, Julia Tossel's grandmother, Bessie Greenberg, Louis Tenenbaum's mother, Belle Gold Tenenbaum, Carol Millman's late sister, Muriel Green. And next Friday, two giants in the life of this community sharing a yahrzeit, remembering with Jeff Spieler and remembering with Jerry and David Ehrenstein, the most remarkable Eleanor Spieler and the most remarkable Debbie Ehrenstein. All those in mourning or commemorating a yahrzeit are invited to rise, or as may be your custom, page 451, Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash me Rabba, be'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon v'yomechon, uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'olam L'Almei Almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal. Shmei Dekudsha Barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba min Shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Yoseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru Amen. Zichronam livracha, all of their memories for a blessing. Page 445. The last of the major prayers of our morning together, with a postscript coming up. 445, we rise in body or in spirit. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula liotzer b'reshit, shenatan lanu Torah temet, v'chaye olam nata betochenu. V'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shehu noteh shamayim ve'yoser haaretz u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim mima'al u'shchinat uzo begovei meromim. U Eloheinu ein od, demet malkeinu efes zulato, kakatuv betorato, v'yadata hayom b'hashivota, elevavecha, ki Adonai hu Elohim. B'shamayim mima'al ve'al haaretz mitachat ein od. Al ken ikabel echad v'raynu b'tifer t'zechel amen kizkim v'shim Yakri v'du k'shviri k'shutim v'lan b'tuman k'lachad b'er shom nefenech l'argui v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v' Lecha Adonai Yimloch Leolam Ba'ed. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad Ushemo Echad. We may be seated. I will invite now Carol Levine on our board of directors for a word of greeting that I know begins with huge appreciation to Kevin and Hannah and Cy Richmond, our techie and all things RENA today. and back.
You took my number one, friend. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. It's always a treat to see so many people in person and to know so many folks are online. Before we begin this morning, if there are any visitors, people coming and just visiting our shul and joining us this Shabbat, I invite you to please stand and introduce yourselves so that we can welcome you properly. We have any visitors this morning?
Only if willing.
Only if willing, absolutely. Oh, how wonderful. Please. Keith and Ellen. Madeline. From Rockville, a long journey, but we're so glad to have you join us. Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Look forward to meeting you in just a moment. So,
Right,
yeah.
right. Okay. Anyone else? Thank you. Again, also, I want to thank Kevin and Hannah for a beautiful story. It may be the dog days of summer, but we have still a lot going on in the synagogue. We have a new tradition this year, which is schmoozing in the shul. And if you haven't joined one morning, I think it's coming up on the 17th, it's just folks dropping in, schmoozing, joining and sharing some bagels and getting together and outside on the picnic tables or inside if it's the weather. We have the high holidays coming up, and there is a program of 6 weeks to the Shema and a praying with yoga with Rabbi Hazan Rachel. The 2nd of September is our first musical, Kabbalah Shabbat, with dinner. And we have lots more coming up. You know, our weekly notices are online, and we hope to see as many of you either way, whichever way you're comfortable, just being together. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much, Carol. So welcome everyone. And on Zoom, thank you all. We seem to have our dog days of summer plateau of about 60 or 65 total, and a ratio about 4 to 3, more Zoomies than roomies, but not by much. So glad to incorporate many of your voices as well from near and from far. And thank you all for being with us. We look forward to heading next door in a moment. Let it be noted, summer services are very different from the rest of the year. We're incredibly casual. We're always casual, but we're incredibly casual. And we have the chance, because there's fewer life cycle moments, to have longer davening, as exemplified today, and also Torah discussion. So for the record, 3 Shabbatot in a row with Torah discussion, and 3 Shabbatot in a row with page 459, Adon Olam. This is also the last week of the summer in which there are almost as many Adat Shalomers praying together in South Sterling, Pennsylvania, as there are here, along with, that's Camp Havaya, along with individuals in Bel Air, Maryland, and in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania, and all the places where all the wonderful camps are that our kids are going to. And we look forward to welcoming them home soon. In honor of the season, please join me. Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol Yetzir Nivra, Le'ed Nasa Bechefzo Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, Ve'acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado imloch nora vehu haya vehu hoveh vehu yeh betiv hara. Skip ahead to the end. Beyado afkid ruchi beit ishan ve'aira ve'im ruchi geviati Adonai li velo ira. Page 465, we rise. V'shameru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam Beni uvnei v'nei Yisrael oti le'olam ki sheshet yamim asa et Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash al ken berach Adonai im Shabbat v'yikadshehu savri chaverai baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ruach haolam borei pri hagafen baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ruach haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon. On Zoom, we're going to take away these microphones and you all are welcome to schmooze as long as you like. Thank you again, Sai. Welcome. Thank you all. Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos. Hi, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Matt,
Yes.
I bless you in my mind every day. I'm on my computer. Thank you so much for all your help.
Oh,
It has made all the difference.
good. Glad. How's your wrist?
It still hurts, but every day I can do something I couldn't do before. So that's exciting.
Good.
But now Anthony and I've both had COVID, so I had to skip my physical therapy.
Oh.
I know.
Oh.
How's everybody?
Thank you.
Well, I'm off in the woods in upstate New York.
Well, the woods look awfully like Dutch Shalom.
Oops, I'll get rid of the background. That's me.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. What a beautiful service.
It was.
Very nice service.
Kevin's been hiding his light under a bushel, as they say, as the Christians say.
Well,
it was really good.
If you come to the weekday minyan, he hasn't been hiding it. Mondays and Thursdays, it's kind of fun.
That's neat. If I ever retire, maybe I'll do that.
Right.
Matt, how far up in the woods are you? We have a place in Beacon, New York.
Yeah, well, I hate to admit it, I don't know where I am. Someplace called Hurley, New York.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
It's
up in the
Kingston.
Hudson. It's in the Hudson Valley, isn't it? Further north?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh,
Vaguely. It's before Albany and above New York City.
Yeah, we got here last night and we'll be here for a few days. And we're going to visit friends in Copenhagen.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, sure.
Copenhagen is very nice.
Yeah.
Reed,
My-
how are you doing? I know you've already lost her sense of smell with COVID.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm sniffing away at other smells so I can get it back. Thank you. Everybody stay well. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Enjoy the beautiful day wherever you are too. Thanks, Aileen.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Nice seeing everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Wow. What a beautiful day it is here in Washington.
It
What do we-
is.
What do we say at the Seder next year in Bethesda?
No, next year in Washington.
All right. Shabbat shalom all.
Shabbat shalom.
Be well. Enjoy the woods.
How are you doing, John?
I'm doing great, thank you. I'm I love teaching, but I'm not really looking forward to going back to the next semester. It's a lot of work, but it's pleasurable work too.
Yeah.
What are you teaching this time?
Well, I'm supposed to teach, I teach criminal justice. And the good news, I guess, is that the course that I developed.
I'm sorry, I missed part of it.
Yeah, I think he froze.
Successful that they hired a full-time person to teach it, and now I'm out of a job. But now they want me to teach a new course on environmental justice, which I've done before, on equity, and there's a lot of terrible stuff and as one of my Chinese professor friends said, when has there ever been equity in the world? Why you crazy Americans want to create equity and help people out? And and of course, as Jews, we've been subject to so much persecution, and then the indigenous people have had a terrible time, and of course the poor and the minority groups. And so it's a real challenge. And so anyway, that's what I'm teaching. That's a long version of my response.
Is your Chinese friend raised in China?
He was, and he's a Chinese American citizen now. But he teaches another sociology course, and he says, you guys are so naive. Why are you worried about equity? I mean, when has stuff ever been equal? There's always somebody above somebody, and I can tell you, as a lawyer as well, I'm a retired lawyer. I'm actually a retired scientist, but I'm also a retired lawyer. And the whole system is set up that whatever it is, whoever's in power, whether it's by political power or by gender or by or race or whatever it is, they always take advantage. And so it's an uphill battle, but we need to try to, as Jews, I know we try to help those who are unfortunate and to move them ahead. And I'm still trying to do that.
That's great.
So anyway, how's everybody? I see a violin, Gordon.
That's a cello.
It's a cello. It looks very small in the picture.
Yeah. It's actually just a painting on the wall now. It's my cello. I have my lesson later today.
Wonderful. So has that been your avocation for many years?
Well, I would say it's been my Sisyphean task for many years. I started playing when my kids started taking music lessons, and I was just sitting around for an hour in the music school, and I thought, well, why am I not doing anything? And actually, it's been very nice because when I was young, I didn't have the discipline to practice, but now, like you, I've been a lawyer, so I can sit down for quite a while and just focus, and it's been great. I love it.
That's so great. Well, one of the things I'm doing, about 2 months ago, I got a beautiful, really professional level harpsichord.
Wow.
And I'm going to go back to, I was a decent pianist, but I didn't practice for 50 years. 40 years anyway. And now I guess that's what I'm gonna be doing mainly, is try to get back into trio sonatas. Any interest in playing the cello with the trio sonata group?
Well, I'm very insecure about it, but I'm
Well, so
willing.
am I.
So I mean, I'm willing to try. I'm not an easy guy to rein in in a trio, but I would do it. And my wife is a very accomplished flutist. And my goodness, I thought you had a goat in the room for there just a second.
Sorry, 1 second. Let me quiet down the troops here. Hey, guys.
Monica, how is your art exhibit going?
Oh,
Wow.
yeah, I have an art exhibit. I have a fabric sculpture exhibit at the McLean Textile
Wow.
Gallery in McLean, Virginia. And I have 18 hangings plus 3 standing pieces on a table. And I'm very pleased with it. I've gotten some very good comments. And so that keeps me happy. And I'm very happy about it. And I'm going to give 2 tours, one on the 18th from 1 to 3 and one on the following Monday from 1 to 3. If anybody wants to show up. So and it's only 20 minutes from my house. I thought, I hadn't been to McLean before really. And that's because we always think of Virginia as being so far, far away, but I guess it's not.
It's not. It's incredible. Actually, there's a great Iranian restaurant there.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah, it's really good. The funny thing is, the guy used to be like the airplane pilot for the Shah of Iran.
Oh.
And he's got pictures of the Shah of Iran and their family all around. But it's a great restaurant.
What's it called?
What, Joey? What's the name of that Iranian restaurant? Yeah, all we can come up with is good question here. We've been there for a while. I'll find it. It's very close to the river. It's very nice.
Oh.
Virginia is Virginia
Gordon, are you
is
in
very
Virginia?
close unless you get lost.
We're in Bethesda.
Okay, because I spent half my life with my wife here, and my putative wife. We actually never got married, but we've been together forever. Here in Old Town, Virginia, and then the other half in DC.
Oh, okay.
The good harpsichord is in Virginia. The bad one is in DC.
Hey, I have a quick question because I actually have to.
Sorry to interrupt you. I'm welcome.
So, in a moment of maybe self-delusion, I took on this role as the chair or the co-chair, it's not quite clear, of the Israel Connection Committee. And I did this partly because, frankly, I don't feel much of a connection to Israel. I went there in my 20s, and I had a difficult problem with the culture. I felt that it had a lot of, frankly, embedded. I didn't go there in one of the usual Jewish kind of settings. I went there as kind of a migrant laborer from Europe, and I just didn't enjoy it. So I'm trying to sort of journey on this myself, and I'm really open to interesting people in the areas of
Chester, be quiet.
Interesting people in the areas of the arts, in the areas of technology, in the areas of politics, in the areas of thought, whatever parts of society they're from, to try to figure out an interesting approach, to establishing a connection and understanding with Israel. So if anybody has any suggestions, I'd be really grateful, or even how to deliver and when to deliver in a way that will attract people.
Well, one thing I would say that, and I've just like you, I haven't been in Israel since my late 20s.
Yeah.
And I really do want to get back at some point. But there is a whole environmental movement and an environmental institute there, Avani, I think. I have to look up the name. That is doing wonderful work, and it's so I'm sure Fred knows it well. And that has been one that's been so inspiring. They've been helping to try to clean up the Mediterranean and improve the energy use in Israel. And
wow. So is my stove off? Is the stove off? Okay, thanks.
Oh, yeah, Karen Fierst has a house in Israel.
Oh, really?
And she spends many, many months with Barry, her husband there. And she was one of the founders of that kibbutz, Keturah.
Really?
And that is the environmental connection there. But so if you, yeah, she's easy to contact by email.
Well, she was actually the former chair, and she had.
Yeah. So she's like a wealth. She'd be a wealth, even whether she's in Israel or here, she'll email you back.
Yeah, that'd be great. And if one of the subtexts that I get from Fred is to sort of attract younger people, which in my case might be 50s, but okay, fine. But talking to my son, I mean, even if there were younger people in the environmental movement to set up Discord servers and conversations through social media. But really, I mean, one thing is to try to network outside our usual cast of characters. So if you know young people, if you have nephews, nieces, grandchildren who might be interested in just chatting.
Gordon, if you email me, one of our friends also is involved with another environmental group that's young Palestinians and Israelis working on environmental issues. Really? Yeah. So my email address is CANNKLINGER@gmail.
KLIN at
GER@gmail.com. So it's C for Carol, ANN for my middle name, and Klinger.
Oh, Klinger. Okay.
Yeah, KLINGER.
Okay.
I have the same offer, Gordon. Mine is easy. It's the JC Cooper, JC Cooper number 10, JC Cooper 10 at AOL.com.
You're with me. We're the last two people on AOL. Great.
Yeah, I have so many people that I correspond with in Africa who know me from that address. So
yeah,
because I lived in and out of Africa for 10 years, did a lot of environmental work there. So, but I used to control my dogs doing these talks too, but I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
And another idea is you get in touch with Sid. He once brought together these kids who to talk to us, who were girls who played soccer together, and they were in two different villages. One was a Jewish village, they're all Jews, and the other ones were Palestinian. They only lived a few miles apart, but they never really had much contact before they started playing soccer, and they established a relationship. It was really sweet.
Chester, shut up.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's a great idea.
I'm on the Zoom. I can't hear anything.
For these Discord, I don't know if you know what a Discord server is, but it's this social media where you can sort of set up your own rules and entry points. And one thing I was thinking of for this is to set up not just quote Israel things, but just things to bring people together, like soccer, like people who are interested in games, like people who are interested in the environmental movement at a younger level, just to get in there and talk, to watch movies together. My son watches movies with people all over the world. They just get on Discord together. So that's one thing I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, we set up a group that was developing rain barrows and things like that with the Palestinians and the Israelis.
Really?
That was really a great. For a while, I haven't done any of that for a little bit now, but but there's a lot of a lot of good stuff, and one of the things I'm hoping to do, yes, in my 70s, is to get back to Israel again.
Well, there you go. We can network you in and find you people who are interesting and do I mean, there've got to be a lot of criminal justice people over there.
Yeah, my main focus until 7 years ago was environmental policy, and so I had another fellow who we got our doctorates together in Wisconsin, who's an Israeli professor, and he's just retired. in Tel Aviv. So, you know, lots of good reasons to get over there, but I'm glad you're doing that. Thanks.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna give it a try. Anyway, my fish is burning, and I got to get out to my hair. I'm having my first haircut in about 4 months. A couple of
Okay.
weeks.
Yes. Shabbat shalom, everybody. I got to go to Home Depot.
We didn't get, Aileen, if you want to stay on, you can let me know how you're doing. No?
I'm doing well, thank you. Who was that, Carol? Carol, what
That's
happened?
Carol.
What happened to your wrist?
I fell and broke it. I was coming from my dining room to our back porch with a treat and eye drops for our big cat when the littler one, smelled the treats and tripped me. She got all excited.
Oh, God.
Went through my legs at the exact wrong moment when I was stepping down.
Did you have to have an operation, Carol?
Yeah, I did. I
had one on my wrist, fell. It's fine.
Oh, good.
I was the best OT person. You got afterwards, you got to do those exercises.
I'm doing them.
So what broke, Carol?
It was the bone on your right below your thumb, and it actually slid down. It was pretty awful looking.
Oh, it's one of those tiny ones up here in this area.
No, it's not. It's the top of the arm bone.
Okay.
Just below your wrist.
The radius or something, or whatever they call it.
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called. And then it slipped down, so it was and I have osteoporosis.
Oh,
and
that's awful.
my doctor said after the surgery, he said one of the bones looked like the crushed crouton.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
So can you turn it like this, or can you not even turn it?
I can turn it, but it hurts.
No, don't turn it if it hurts. I'm just trying to figure out.
No, I'm supposed to, right, Malcolm?
Well, you got to do what they say.
You have to. Here, I'll put my camera on so you can see.
Let's see.
So I can turn it.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to. That's part of the exercises.
Yeah.
But that's the splint.
Right.
Yeah.
So the radius radiates around the other bone. You know, it goes down here, radiates around.
You see that where that big bump is below your, right there? That's what broke, and it went down there. But he puts a plate in and a bunch of screws. The X-ray looks like one of those tools you use for spaghetti. It goes like.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
But anyway, I'm just getting COVID in the middle of physical therapy was not a good idea.
You got COVID?
Yeah.
Oh no. So do you have COVID now?
Yeah, but I'm on Paxlovid, so I
missed that part. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I just have a slight sore throat now, but I'm on my last day of dose, so I will test tomorrow, and hopefully I'll be able to start PT again on Wednesday.
What do you teach?
I see physical therapy. I don't teach.
Oh, I thought you said teach.
No, I have physical PT.
Yeah. PT. I heard teach instead of PT. Isn't that funny?
So Carol, do you have any idea how you got the COVID?
Yeah, I got from Anthony, my husband.
Yeah.
And he got it from I'm pretty sure he got it from somebody at work.
Yeah.
Somebody unmasked at work pulled him into his office for a 45-minute discussion unmasked. An enclosed office. He said, "What were you thinking?" He said, "I didn't know he was going to talk to me for so long."
Oh my God.
And he didn't say, "Hey, where's your mask?"
Oh. Is your husband wearing a mask?
He was on his way out, so he had just taken his mask off.
Oh God. Yeah, you know what? I know so many people, including actually my son. You just have to do one little thing and there you get it. I don't know, it's so contagious now.
Yeah, I know. My son and his wife and his little 8-month-old baby. Oh, got
Oh, the
COVID.
baby has it too?
But she seems to be recovering well, you know, when I
Oh,
saw her on
good.
FaceTime, she's just playing around. She-
Oh, this week, just a couple days ago, my daughter lives in Bogota, Colombia with her 6-month-old daughter. And so Lila, her name is Lila. She's the